how do you feel about all of these different grading companies? And I guess where would you put your top five for, let's just say, PSA, Beckett, CSG, SGC, and HGA, let's say. Let's use those five or however many of those
You know,
are.
someone just asked me this yesterday. Someone just asked me
Mhm.
this question yesterday. I would go PSA 1, Beckett 2, SGC, but that 2, 2, 3 is very close. SGC is a great slab, and their prices hold in the market.
Yep.
SGC third, CSG fourth, HGA maybe fifth. That's how I would
Mhm.
rank those. Now, I want to say this, and historically in the past, 20 years ago or so, 25 years ago, BGS and PSA prices were very similar. And at the time, I liked the way the BGS slab looked. So I would buy cars more that were BGS graded. And I was always, even back then, looking for the subgrades.
Mhm.
But now I can kind of respond to the market. I mean, the market speaks more to PSA. I don't know what will happen in the future. But right
Yep.
now, I'm committing cars to PSA. And if they're thicker with an RPA or jersey, I'm sending them to Beckett. And that's kind of the rationale I have right now.
Okay.
I would be open to sending cars to SGC as well.
Mhm. So me personally, I've been doing SGC. I've never done a PSA submission, just because my personality. I'm just impatient and I don't want to wait. Mainly talking the last 4 or 5 months. Obviously, recently they've changed a little bit on their scales and for turnaround time. But SGC, I mean, I sent the card in on a Friday. They got it on a Monday, dropped it off on the same Monday. I'm talking about going through a bulk submission service, which is Boca Raton Subs.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped it off on Monday. Grades were posted on Wednesday night, and I mean, how do you go against that when at the end of the day, as long as you're buying at the right numbers, you're going to see a profit. You're going to see a return to a degree, as long as you get relatively decent grades. Obviously, you want to be, observant of how the condition of your cards. But as long as you're getting 9.5s and 10s, and as long as you're buying at those realistic prices that you're not just paying up astronomically for, you're going to see a decent return. Obviously, not to the degree of PSA, but you got to take that into account. Those turnaround times where you may have a player get hurt, you may have a season end. You
Sure.
know, so
Right now, PSA has a deal before the national that by the 30th, that there's 5 more days on this deal. Each card you send in is $18.
yeah.
I think over so many. So I've talked to quite a few people who are taking advantage of that, who are sending a bunch of cards. There's a 4 to 5 month turnaround on those cards because of the
So
amount coming in. So market may change,
so
but
what's the vibe out in the LA area, the California area, with kind of the slab situation at shows specifically? Like, what do you see kind of the most of? What do you see the least of? What do you see kind of in the middle of the road?
I think it all depends on the table. You're gonna see a lot of PSI. You're gonna see a lot of Beckett. You'll see a pretty good amount of SGC as well. You're going to see CSG, and then you'll see a little bit of HGA. I think I've started seeing less HGA over time than I did probably 6 or 7 months ago. But there are people
Less.
that are the time frames when you get to talking about them. The turnaround time frames on these cars mean a lot to how am I going to sell this, especially if let's say you got some cars you're trying to get ready for Dallas, or you're getting ready for the national, or you're getting ready for a large show in your area. You want to make sure your table is graded. So you may bounce around. Some people may bounce around between 2 or 3 companies to make sure that the turnaround times meet the date of that show. They're going to definitely have inventory back before they get on that plane or get in that car, and that dictates what company they're going to.
Mm-hmm. It's also could be a factor where I was just having this conversation with a guy at a show a couple of days ago. If you just have stale inventory that's sitting in your case raw, you don't want to grade it PSA because you may think it's going to get like a 7 or an 8. Send it to SGC. You're going to get it in a couple weeks.
True.
Put it in your showcase, and it'll move.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just telling him this is that he had a Clayton Kershaw light blue Topps, but it was numbered at a 25. but you wouldn't know that unless you turn the car over. And with SGC slabs, they put the serial number on the slab, and that could help a sale, because if a guy looks up and he goes, if it's raw, it's like, it's just a light blue Clayton Kershaw, a non-rookie. But if you see the slab and it says 2 out of 25, you're like, for $50 I can get a numbered Clayton Kershaw, one of the best pitchers in the modern era. I may pick that up. And then if for some reason it grades an SGC 9.5, they may end up saying, oh, it's a 9.5 SGC. I'll buy it because I may want to crack it and send it to PSA. You're kind of bridging that gap between that raw uncertainty and that a little bit more legitimacy that makes people a little bit more feel safe.
And what's cool about SGC too, you hear from their leader all the time, which to me is very cool all the time. I always say that I want to hear from Beckett more often,
or at all.
Yeah, I want to hear somebody talking to me about what kind of innovation, who are you hiring, what's your turnaround times looking like, what's your in and out flow, what's your process. I just hope that comes in 2023 or the end of this year. There's been some changes at Beckett, but I think something has to be coming.
They've been starting to make some presence on social to a degree, but how authentic it is, I don't know. At least PSA's guy, Nat Turner, he's just a public guy in general, so there's some sort of transparency to a degree where, nobody really knows what's going on at Beckett. People know SGC's on card vlogs, and they're doing podcasts and stuff like that. And
that shows them walk right by them. You're standing there, you're standing right by them. People are talking about stuff. I've seen SGC, the leadership there, at another table at the Mint in Vegas of another company on car grading, and they were all sitting around talking about car grading. So people are good. You can tap him on the shoulder as he's walking by; he'll stop and talk to you.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's great for the hobby, for the growth, and to get everybody on the same playing field. Everyone's gonna like a different slab for different reasons. Maybe it's the aesthetic, maybe it's the way they grade, how they showcase their grades. But I just think it's crazy to make these such large gaps between the grading companies, when realistically, how much of a difference can there be? They're all grading the same thing, right? They're all grading based on the corners, the surface, the centering.
And some of them have graders moving around between company to company.
Exactly.
Did you see today? It was on Instagram, and I also received an email. Let's see if I can pull this email up. CSG is making moves, man.
Big moves.
So now they're talking about how. Let's see if I can get this in here. They're talking about Jordans. There was also the Big Brady card was graded by them. That was on social media over the weekend. Maybe it got posted last Thursday. I have a picture of that. And I've been saying this for a while. These companies that don't typically have higher value cars in their slab, they have to do something to get that perception in people's minds that that's a viable option.
100%
right now, but that was a Brady card, I think rookie card, and a CSG slab. Now that could be for promotional purposes. Somebody may have submitted the card to see what it will come back as. Let them take pictures, build a story, but it's something there. You typically see things in Beckett. You typically see things in PSA. You walk the show, if you get over a certain dollar amount, you're not going to see too much anything else.
No. And honestly, if kind of going off that, I'm very surprised that some of these grading companies haven't sponsored some of these card influencers and these guys who do the vlog and say, hey guys, we'll pay you, I don't know, we'll give you free submissions, just grade with, say, SGC. Hey guys, just grade with SGC, talk about us. Every card you buy at these shows, say, yeah, I just bought this Justin Herbert NT Auto. I'm going to SGC right now to grade it. Those little marketing dollars would do wonders if they had 5 or 10 card guys who are doing vlogs. All do that. It shifts the market.
I think we're going to see a little bit more of that as we go forward. But the key thing is, like I've been at different shows and seen some other grading companies. What is the resale value? Is the key.
Yep.
What is the resale value? Isn't an SGC 10 a better card than a PSA 10? Just do the PSA soft grade on center. I don't think the market's saying it like that.
Yeah, market wise, you're going to get more value for a PSA 10.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, just generally, I don't see much of a difference just based on the card wise. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see how many people have an SGC 10 and crack it and don't get a PSA 10. That's actually genuinely what I'm actually interested in seeing, because that would kind of give you a little bit more a clearer picture of how well an SGC 10 is actually graded, because everyone looks at PSA 10 as if it's a 10, that is a perfect card, right? But even though some people say, hey, listen, even though you got a PSA 10, that card is really off center. There's a big dimple on that card. You know, I've heard that happen.
Oh, I've seen cards with dimples still with PSA 10 in person.
100%.
Yeah,
exactly. So why, like, let me ask you that. Why do you think, just based on the last few years, why has PSA 10 gained this pedestal over everybody else? And it's essentially also it's kind of also pushed Beckett down. It's like Beckett's like taking a step back, not just because they're doing or they're not as transparent, but because PSA has taken such a jump. So why do you
think it is? Because I had the same conversation this weekend. I think I think the reason why is that the human mind just wants to see one number.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the kind of person, though, I want to see subgrades. I want to know to the 10th degree what's up with this card. Where is it at? I want to see that. I think the average person does not want that level of detail. So they want to be able to look at a case and see that's a PSA 10. That's a great card. I don't want to get into all the subgrades. I just want you to stamp that thing. Boom, that's a 10. And let me keep moving. I'm going to buy, sell, trade, do whatever I do, because that card is a 10. And I think that has been the separation. Because at one point, people I would talk to years ago wanted to know to that degree what was the subgrades on the card. I don't think people really want to know that anymore. But people do recognize a BGS 10 or BGS Black Label. Now, those cards are recognized as being at a higher market value than a PSA 10. Harder to find.